Hey guys, Palsteron here, and today let's talk about the Atlas passive tree that I will be starting with in the first few days. This is mostly made to complete your Atlas, get your 4 Void Stones, get 115 out of 115, and get all your favorite slots. That does not mean this is the best racing strat. Racing is quite different. This is more setting you up for the league, which actually needs you to have map sustain and not just rush all the way to tier 16s. Also do note that a lot of these videos are going to be quite similar, so if you have seen one, you've seen them all. They're like varying degrees of path up to Unwavering Vision and take map sustain nodes. Mostly what comes after is the difference, and I'm going to talk about how I'm going to transition into Expedition personally. But with that said, let's get going. So your first prerogative is getting as much map nodes as possible. That includes stuff like maps have a chance to be higher, 1 tier higher, but also these small nodes are incredibly efficient, as well as Kirac missions, which give you extra free maps. I just saw that during the shooting of the video. I forgot, Commissioned Officer, you definitely want to take that while you're pathing up. ASAP, it's 6% chance, so just think about when you're pathing up for the first time to grab it along the way. However, what we first have to do is actually path all the way up to Unwavering Vision. This one enables you to get extra 20 points, which is a huge power spike once you get there. You might argue it's not really worth because you have to like forfeit a lot of points, but these are also setup points for later, so we can take some stuff on the way. The downside of Unwavering Vision of not dropping Scarabs is completely negligible because you're only going to drop some here or there. They're going to maybe sell for like a chaos or less, and you're not going to have bulk to sell anyway, so it's just going to be annoying. Do note that this is only an early game solution. Now after that, what we're looking to go for is shaping the mountains and then also shaping the skies. There's no reason to take any cryptic gateways to save any of the pathing nodes because the pathing nodes are actually quite efficient, like I said, and you're also going to fill them out anyways. So this is where you're going to be somewhere in yellow maps, but for red maps, Kirac missions are absolute goated. So I would personally take the Kirac missions. Some people do take this point. I personally don't think it's really all that good. Scouting reports are all right, so you can take it for a point if you really want to. Then we go into a little bit of personal preference territory. I really like Frantic Mining here for some Nico together with the Pact with Energy. Basically, whenever you press Soulfight, on Soulfight, you're going to get buffs. You're going to get increased damage, movement speed, max res. It is quite nice, especially early. After that, you can also go for shrines, but I would definitely fill out these 8%ers. The 8%ers here are a little bit too much out of the way, so I usually just kind of settle with that and get it every second map. After that, I go for the shrines, and I go for Drawn to Power and Syncretism. Do note that this might delay your maps a little bit because most people would immediately fill this out. These are personal preference nodes. The easiest way to go about it would just now to fill out all of these. Also, don't forget to take these small points that you didn't take on your way up. Now, taking Nico and Shrines for power level also means that your altars are going to be a little bit delayed, so do note that. However, there's a good chance you will be completing your Maven quest line, so you have some time before you really need it. But yeah, you definitely want to take a Light of Dawn, all the small nodes beyond here. Baptized by Fire is usually not really worth it because the invitations don't really sell for that much, and you obviously also want to grab these. For the Keystone, really depends on how comfy you are with higher power level of enemies, right? Like you take more damage, higher downsides. Your res is going to be in the negative. Depends on how you like to play, but I think the power that we took earlier easily counteracts the Wrath of the Cosmos. Now, at this point, some people like to respec, but since Expedition doesn't really take a lot of points and mixing Expedition with most other things doesn't really result into that much more currency, depending on your build, I usually go for my Expedition strat from here. So with this early progression finished, now I'm going to be in red maps. I'm probably going to have mostly everything unlocked. And now I just want some currency to gear up my character to unlock my favorite slots, because some of these fights are a little bit harder, like for example Feared. And that's where a lot of people would actually go for their second planner here. I personally do not do that. I don't feel like it's necessary because I already pathed pretty well for Expedition. At the end of this tree as well, what you want to do is now spec out of Unwavering Vision because you're going to start dropping random scarabs from the altars. Some people do this a little bit later, but I personally find it not that great because at this point you might actually be able to sell some of them in bulk. So what I usually do here is I unspec it by unspecking the small starting nodes here. At this point, you should have unlocked most of your Atlas, which there's not really any reason to just drop random adjacent maps anymore. With all those small nodes and the notable up top and these 3 points right here, I do also unspec the extra Kirac chance right here. Now, the stuff in the middle is kind of efficient. Honestly, even at this point, Kirac is kind of fine. I think this 1 pointer, you can definitely leave there. And with the open points you have now, we are now going to talk about the Expedition tree. If you plan on playing Expedition, make sure that you have a character that's actually good at it. That means you should have something like Proliferation or Explosion or just really good AoE. If you're not at least a little bit ranged, you're going to have a really tough time because these monsters hit like a truck, and you're also going to get poisoned and bled to death. Because of the Extreme Archaeology Keystone, all of these mods you can't really avoid, right? You can't really place the explosives like really meticulously and avoid a crazy combination. So be aware of the mods that brick you. For example, I'm going to play EA Ballista, which the only 2 bricks I have is cannot be ignited and then also immune to fire. Some builds though have 3 to 4 bricks, so just be aware of that. It's going to get harder and harder and more annoying to place the explosives. Alongside that, you should definitely have something against block or you'll get eviscerated. So for example, if you have an attack mastery, taking the monsters cannot block your attacks is quite strong if you're an attack-based build. Or if you can't get that, then on swords, there's also 50% reduced enemy chance to block. With that said, there's not much nuance other than the keystone. You just take all of these. They all just have good effects. You take this cluster right here, everything that has expedition on it. I guess early on, I would definitely recommend getting your cap to get an expedition counter without the scarab, right? It's just going to be better overall. Quantity of artifacts, all of these are valuable. Now here's where, if you're actually good at ROG, I would highly recommend speccing into ROG instead of 2-gen. So you can basically make it so some of the vendors show up more often. Never take Gwenin, always take Danik, because then it converts into other vendors. If you don't know what that means, I'll link down a video below in the description describing this whole expedition spiel a little bit more. I would highly recommend not to take ROG if you don't know what you're doing, though. If you're just like randomly searching around, it's probably not going to be very profitable. 2-gen actually gives you raw currency. You can also not screw around with the vendors at all and just sell your currency, which is quite as good as well if you're a very efficient player. You can also see the pathing with Nico is very strong because you can path to the right side and then connect here and take the last chance to gain Nico, so you can have the all res and the move speed uptime more often and connect right here. From here, you can kind of do whatever you want. You can add something on top of Expedition, you can respec, but this is still your first tree. So one of the advantages of actually doing it on this one means you still have 2 trees open, especially valuable if you're planning to play the league for longer. And if you don't know what that means, there's actually 3 Atlas trees you can choose between here, so don't spend your money on respecking. All the respecs I did here should be covered by quest rewards and also random orb makings you're gonna find. From here on out, you can add stuff like essences, for example. The only thing that this will do is, for example, you have to path down here, right? You grab the essence at the start. You will have to somehow get over here. Well, the tree is going to get different, right? Like whatever you prefer. The only issue is that if you add more stuff, honestly, you're going to do less expeditions. And also, usually you can go into a map, find the expedition, and then portal out. If you're adding essences, you now have to explore everything. People used to do a lot of betrayal in this strat, but part of that was because they wanted to get the unveils, which aren't really a thing anymore. You just get them naturally now. Harvest is definitely a thing people like to do on top of expedition. It scales very similarly. You can also spec into all of these increased effect of explicit modifiers on the top to get more quantity on your map. Do note though that if you're on your league starter, the mods will make the map a lot harder. Strong boxes are also a great choice because they did get quite a bit of quality of life this patch with now not having to open your inventory anymore if you want to alch. Not that you necessarily want to do that, but it's an easy add, and you also can see them on the minimap. But yeah, either way, this will be my finished tree. After that, I'm not really sure what I'm going to farm, but I'm going to update you guys over the first few days. I hope you enjoyed the video. Definitely look into how you want to start your Atlas experience. It's pretty important to have a smooth deal. I know these trees have been the same for the last few leagues. I can't really do anything about that. I wish it was different. But yeah, both trees will be down below in the description. And yeah, definitely make sure you can actually run Expedition. If you're EA Ballista, you're going to be fine. But some of the builds are made for different things. So adjust to your needs. But with that being said, hope you guys have a great league start. And since I still don't have a slogan, see you next time.